Why do you exist? It's a pretty big question to start off with, right? Well, that's part of what we're going to be answering today in the message with Pastor Eric as we continue in our series, A Journey to Joy. So don't skip past the message. You're not going to want to miss this. Welcome to SMCC Online.
One day is better with you than all the world. Oh, Spirit of life, help me remember that it is my pleasure to say to you that all I am, my life defined by I've been crucified with Christ. The life I live by faith in Jesus Christ who lives in me. He lives in me. Oh, when my heart grows cold and my flesh is failing, the Spirit is willing to point me back to you, yes. For to live is Christ, and to die is better. Help me remember, my song to you is all I am, my life defined by I've been crucified with Christ. The life I live by faith in Jesus Christ who lives in me. Lives in me. Lives in me. Lives in me. Oh, remember his atoning, his body broken for me. Remember his approval, he gave his life to say so. Remember his appealing, oh, my Lord is interceding. Remember if you have breath, to breathe it out and praise Him. Oh, oh, all I am, my life defined by I've been crucified with Christ. The life I live by faith in Jesus.
Hey, last week we started a journey together, and this is a journey towards joy. And I can't think of a better journey to be on with a better group of people. I'm so glad that we can pursue joy together. I'm Eric, if we haven't met, and I want to kick off today by showing you a picture and then asking you a question. Here's the picture, and here's the question. Do you know what this is? Do you know what this crazy looking object is? If you don't, it's okay. I had no idea what this was either, so I had to do some investigation. And of course, if you want to find out what something is made for, you have to ask the one who made it. If you want to know what something has been created for, you have to ask the creator. And so to do that with this object, we would turn to a man named Wilhelm Reich. Wilhelm Reich calls this a cloud buster. Wilhelm Reich was an Austrian psychoanalyst, and he says that he has the potential. He said that he had the potential to take energy that was in the atmosphere and convert it into rain. And so he invented the cloud buster, which he said could do this very thing. A bit like a lightning rod, if you pointed the cloud buster up into the atmosphere and you grounded it to something like a body of water, you could take the energy in the atmosphere, create clouds, and eventually create rain. That's what the cloud buster was said to do. Unfortunately for Reich, there is no verified instance of a cloud buster ever working. Now, here's the thing. I don't care about a cloud buster, and you don't care about a cloud buster, but I do care about this, something that we've just highlighted at the beginning of today's message. If you want to know what something was created for, you have to ask the person who created it. We could say it like this right here. To know why you exist, meaning you must know what caused your existence origin. Let me say that again. It is so important. To know why you exist, purpose and meaning in life, you have to know what caused your existence. You have to go back to the conversation about origin. So what I'm saying is there is a connection between purpose and meaning in life and what caused your life. Where you came from is crucial to knowing why you are here. It's the question of origin and meaning. Now, when it comes to these two questions, origin and meaning, where did I come from and why am I here? What was I created for? What's my purpose? These are questions everybody's asking, unless you found an answer to the questions or you've trained yourself to never ask those questions. And when it comes to these two questions, there's really just a couple answers. I think there's really just two categories when it comes to origin and meaning. The first category is this category right here. The only reason we're here is because some molecules randomly bumped into each other and randomly caused us. It is completely random, and therefore we are here for nothing in particular. Our purpose, well, it's random. And we can choose a purpose that we prefer, but let's be honest, it's not rooted in anything significant or anything lasting. It is completely random, it's completely up to preference, it's completely up to us. The other option is this. We were created with intentionality and intelligence. And if we were created with intentionality and intelligence, it means we were created on purpose for a purpose. So we are either an accident or we are art. And come on, if some DNA in our brain is just moving us along, if we were just dancing to the DNA inside of us, then everything we believe, it's already pre-programmed. I believe in God because my DNA pre-programmed me to believe in Him. And maybe you do, but come on, it's just your DNA being pre-programmed. And if you're not someone who believes in Jesus, hey, you know what? It's just your DNA. You weren't programmed to believe in Him. And if that's the case, then hey, we could just turn this off right now, okay? But if we are made intentionally, and if something or someone intelligent made us, if we are in fact created, then we have significance, we have meaning, and we have purpose. And understanding this is oh so important. So, what does this have to do with a journey to joy? This is it. Joy is a byproduct of doing what you were created to do. It's a byproduct of living in alignment with how you were made. So on this journey of joy, we must go back to our beginning. We must go back to the origin of our existence to understand why we're here. And if joy is a byproduct of living how we were made, we must know how we were made and why we were made. And that's what today's message is about. Welcome back to part 2 of a series called The Journey to Joy. And the goal of this series is very, very simple. We just want more joy for as many people as possible. And so everything we're going to talk about for 7 weeks from start to finish in this series is designed to bring more joy into your life. Now, what we're going to talk about is important, but we have a book that goes with this series. And if you take that book and engage it, it will be so important to you pursuing joy. See, some people are just too lazy to be happy. Don't be that person. Pick up the book or head to the website, smccutah.org/livingfdfd. Our lead pastor, Pastor Paul, has written a book that goes with this series, or this series goes with his book, and it is crucial. It's crucial to living with joy. We hope you'll pick it up so that we can journey towards joy together. Now, back to the big question of origin. I don't have time today to take you through all of this, but I just want to say this. I am convinced that the fine-tuning of the universe on a razor's edge, the beginning of the universe that virtually all cosmologists agree on, and the complexity of human life lets us know that we were created on purpose. There's far too much intentionality and intelligence behind our universe and behind you and me to think that we are just an accident. What I'm saying is that we were created on purpose. And whatever causes the things that we see created, whatever created or caused time, matter, space, and energy, whatever caused that must be outside of that, must be timeless, spaceless, immaterial, and all-powerful. There's a short 3-letter word for that type of being. It's God. It's God. So, if we had a beginning, we had a beginner. And not only does science point to this, not only does philosophy point to this, the Bible declares this as well. Let me read to you something that's been so crucial for me in formulating my understanding of reality and my understanding of origin or beginning or existence. We read this in the New Testament letter of Colossians. For in him, that him is Jesus, for in Jesus all things were created. Things in heaven and on earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones or powers or rulers or authorities, all things have been created through him and for him. Through him and for him. So here we see in this small passage, origin, created through him or by him, and meaning, created for him. Now, I'm a simple person, so I like things to be clear, and this is as clear as I can be. You were created by God, and you were created for God. You were created on purpose, and you were created for a purpose. And if a life of purpose and joy is about doing the things we were made to do, then living for God will lead to the most joy possible. Now, if we get this wrong, if we're not sure why we're here, if we're not sure what we were created for, we will struggle. We will feel out of alignment with the world that we find ourselves in. And I don't know about you, but I have felt that way many times throughout my life. Something's wrong, something is missing, why am I here? And if you're honest, you've asked yourself that question. And I think the answer to that question could be, it's because I haven't connected with the one who made me. And if you live out of step with your creation, life will feel like a grind. Things will feel amiss. Like, just consider this. We do not use our iPhones as frisbees. That would be out of step with purpose. We don't use our iPhones for frisbees. We don't use spatulas for drumsticks. And we don't use Jeeps to drive to the mall. Well, in Utah, a lot of people drive Jeeps to the mall. But you get the point. Certain things have certain purposes. And when those things are used for those purposes, it feels like joy because it is joy. It's an alignment of origin and meaning. It's an alignment with purpose, what we were made to do, and the one who made us. And when these things align, life begins to pick up speed, it begins to pick up momentum, and joy sets in. Now, one passage might not be enough for you, so I want to take you to another passage written at a different point in history by a different author. We looked at something from the Apostle Paul. Now I want to look at something from Isaiah. Now, by the way, both of these authors are penning their words, but both of these authors are penning the words of God. So let's look at something from a different point in history, from a different type of thinker, from a different point in time. We looked at a Greco-Roman thinker in Paul. Let's look at a Hebrew thinker in Isaiah. Isaiah says this, "Bring my sons from afar and my daughters from the ends of the earth, everyone who is called by my name." And look at this, "whom I created by God." And look at this, "for my glory." Created for God. Created by God and for God. Origin and meaning in Colossians, origin and meaning in Isaiah. "Whom I formed and made." So here we see answers to the questions of origin and meaning again. The Bible is so clear on this. We were created by God and for God. So if you want to know why something exists, you must look at what brought that thing into existence. And here we see both again. It's God that brought us into existence, and it's God that we exist for. God has never created anything without a purpose, and glorifying Him is our purpose. The word glory, by the way, it really comes from this word that means weight or a heaviness. So when we glorify God, we are placing weight and gravity upon Him. He is a big deal to us. He's the most important, the most significant, the heaviest thing in our lives. When we glorify Him, we're putting all of our life onto Him. He can carry that weight because He is worthy of it. Now, one of the things that I love about our church is this. Every week at SMCC, there are people watching online, and there are people in our environments who do not believe what I believe. I love this about our church, okay? At SMCC, you can belong regardless of what you believe. So every week there are people here who don't see the world the way that I do, who don't account for reality the way that I account for reality. And I call these people my friends, because you can be friends with people who see the world differently than you. So I would guess that there are some people watching this who do not see it this way. This idea of being created by God and for God, created by God to glorify God, this idea might not be hitting home. Glorifying God might not be what you think you do or want to do with your life. And I understand that, but I do want to say this. We will all find something to glorify. We will all find something to glorify in life. Either we'll glorify ourselves, we'll glorify something else or someone else, we'll glorify a cause, or we'll glorify God. We will make something a big deal. Social media has taught me this. As I look at what my friends post, I can see what's a big deal to them. I look at TikTok. Yes, I have a TikTok, by the way. People on TikTok will make something a big deal. They will find something to glorify. On Instagram, people are constantly finding things to glorify. Instagram is a glory factory. TikTok, a glory factory. Facebook, a glory factory. Even MySpace, back in the day, it's a glory factory. We will find something to glorify. We were built that way. So sometimes it's the cars we drive that we think will get us the glory we seek. It's the way our kids behave. And if our kids behave a certain way, some people around us will glorify us. If I tell people I have a certain position or our church is a certain size, or if I have this many direct reports, or this is how good I am at something, then all the people that I say that to, the audience around me will glorify me. We will find something to glorify. I like to think of it like this. You know, we don't walk around with medals on to declare our worth or to get people to value us, but it is kind of like we're wearing one of these as we go about our lives. That we have these medals on, and we think that by wearing a medal, by telling people how important we are, that we're a big deal, we will get them to praise us, applaud us, celebrate us. We might not use this word, but this is what we're after. We want them to glorify us. And it's as if people walk around, many people walk around with a medal on saying, this is how important I am, this is how valuable I am. Now, if someone gives you a medal and honors you, that's one thing. If you put a medal on yourself because you think everyone should honor you, that's a completely different thing. And I don't know about you, but there are times I walk around and it's as if there's an invisible medal around my neck and I'm just trying to get people to see me as a big deal. Guys, that's just glory. That's glory that we're after and we're hungry for it, and we will find something to glorify. And for many people, the thing we will glorify is simply ourselves. It's as if we have an invisible medal on trying to get people to glorify us. Now, when it comes to glorifying something, I I really think there are four main options. I want to just take you through this pretty quickly. Four options when it comes to glory. Here's the first option that I think many people are faced with when it comes to glorifying something. The first option is this: glorify yourself. Glorify yourself and you will never be praised enough. Listen, there will be people who go about life trying to get other people to praise them. We would just try to glorify ourselves, lift ourselves up is a big deal. But there will always be people who don't like us, people who won't celebrate us, people who let us down, and people that we let down. Guys, it will rob us of joy if we think that we live to be glorified by other people. Either not enough people will praise us, or someone else will be praised more than you, and they'll get the applause, and you think you deserve it, and we'll compare our lives to other people who are getting more glory than we do, and in all of this, joy is stolen out of our lives. This is not the pathway to joy. Here's another approach. Glorify another person, and they will just never love you enough. Listen, some people say, you know what, there's not a medal around my neck, but I'm placing a medal around this other person's neck. I expect them to give me everything I want. I'm going to glorify them, but they better love me in return. See, if you treat someone as your God, as the most important thing in your life, as the biggest deal in your life, there will be a point that they'll let you down. They can't meet the standard that you've placed on them. This too kills joy. Here's a third approach. Glorify a cause and you'll never accomplish enough. See, there are people who say, you know what, I don't glorify God with my life, but I'm glorifying this cause with my life. Well, the problem is we are not powerful enough to accomplish everything we want to accomplish with that said cause. It's not going to be enough. Here's the fourth option. Glorify God. Glorify God and He will be enough. Now you might say, Eric, no, actually for me, I won't glorify anything. Well, here's the thing. That's impossible. That's like telling a fish to stop swimming. It's what they were made to do. They just can't stop. The only time a fish will stop swimming is when they die. But even for us, when we die, we will still be glorifying something. Now, if I were to look at your life, look at your calendar, look at your text messages, look at your Instagram, and look at your budget, I could tell within a moment what it is that you want to glorify. And I'm not trying to be mean. Please don't do that to me. But the point is this: if you look at all of those things, if you look at your life carefully, you would see the thing that's the biggest deal to you in your life. That is the thing you'll be glorifying. That's it. And so the invitation of today's message is to consider glorifying God. What is it that you're treating as the greatest thing in your life? And if joy is a byproduct of living in alignment with what you were created to do, and if, as we read, we were created to glorify God, then we should glorify Him now with our lives if we want to pursue joy. What I'm saying is this: your happiness is a slave to what you glorify. Your happiness will be a slave to the thing that you glorify. The thing you're most loyal to will determine the level of joy in your life. And the Bible tells us we are to glorify God. In Romans, we read it like this: to Him be the glory forever. To Him be the glory forever. All the praise, all the affection, all the adoration, all the worth we could possibly give to something else, it belongs to Him. To Him be the glory forever. Amen. Now, I want to show you a picture of something that's pretty ancient, and I want to see if you can resonate with this. Check out this picture right here. This is a man pushing a boulder up a hill. I don't know if you can resonate with this approach to life. This is Sisyphus right here. In Greek mythology, Sisyphus was a king, and yet he was punished. He was punished as a king for cheating death twice, and his punishment was to be forced to roll a boulder up a hill, an immense boulder, only for it to roll back down again the second he got it to the top for all of eternity. What an approach to life. And through the influence of this classical figure, the influence of mythology, in our modern day language, sometimes people talk about a futile existence or an empty approach to life, a laborious approach to life, as Sisyphean. A Sisyphean approach to life is this approach to life where I just feel like I'm constantly grinding, constantly pushing a rock uphill, only for it to roll back down again. It's like the treadmill approach to life. I'm working and working and working and going nowhere. If you can resonate with this, I think it's probably because you have lived life out of sync and out of alignment and out of step with what you were created to do. And if you ever feel a bit like Sisyphus, today's message is an invitation to consider a better way. It's to think of origin and think of meaning and then align your life with those two things. So I want to ask a question. It's a logical question that flows out of a conversation like this at this point. And the question is this: okay, why did God make me? So we've talked about the fact that he has. We've talked about the reason for our existence. We were created for something, to glorify him, but why? I mean, why did God create us? We find the answer to that question all throughout the Bible, but we find the answer to that question in the book of origins, the book of Genesis. Genesis means origins. The book of Genesis means the book of origins. And early on in Genesis, we see an explanation of why God made us. I want to read this to you. It's very, very important. Genesis 1, verse 26. Then God said, let us make mankind in our image. The us is one being, three persons. We even see plurality in who God is at the very beginning. This is not multiple gods, but one God who's always existed in three persons. Let us make mankind in our image. An image is something that reflects something else. So God's creation, humanity, is to reflect a part of him, to image him to the world in our likeness, so that they may rule over the fish in the sea and the birds in the sky, over the livestock and all the wild animals, over all the creatures that move along the ground. So God created mankind in his own image. In the image of God, he created them, male and female, he created them. So here's what we read. God created us as his image bearers. In other words, he created us to be the kinds of people that reflect something about him to the world, that we would spread an appreciation of his goodness and an appreciation of his greatness to other people. And everyone has the ability to do this because everybody was created. So as image bearers, we are also glory spreaders. We help other people see God's goodness and greatness so that they would say, wow, I wonder if God is real because of how these people live. And this is exactly what happened to me when I was 18 years old. I didn't grow up as a follower of Jesus. When I was 18, there were some people in my life who did follow Jesus. And by the way they lived, they caused me to be interested in their God. They imaged him in a way that caused me to lean in with interest. They lived out their purpose. So if we're going to answer the question, why did God create us? We could answer it like this. God created us to share in his joy. Remember, let us. God is full of joy. So we get to share in his joy. How great is that? And we get to share his joy, to share in it and to share it with others. That's why he made us. And Jesus put these two ideas together. Guys, I hope you see this. I mean, we've just taken an overview of the Bible. We've been in Colossians, we've been in Isaiah, we've been in Genesis, and now we're going to turn to something Jesus said. Right before he walked to the cross, he had a conversation with his disciples, and in that conversation, he prayed an incredible prayer about us. Look at what Jesus says. My prayer is not for them alone. I pray also for those who will believe in me through their message. Jesus is praying for us. That all of them may be one, Father, just as you are in me and I am in you. May they also be in us, so that the world may believe that you sent me. I have given them the glory that you gave me. We get to share in his glory, and then we get to share it. That they may be one as we are one, I and them and you and me, so that they may be brought to complete unity. Then the world will know. We get to share in his joy, and we get to share his joy. Then the world will know. We will reflect him. We will image him in such a way that the world will know what? That you sent me. That Jesus is a rescuer. And have loved them even as you have loved me. That we would experience the love of God through other people who have experienced the love of God and have chosen to reflect that and image that love as his glory bearers. What an incredible picture. So the best way we can show that God is infinitely valuable is to just be supremely happy in him. Bored Christians are a problem. joyful Christians, celebrating God's goodness, they are attractional people. People want to be a part of that type of culture. So, the only person who is ultimate is God. God is ultimate and therefore ultimately satisfying. And so the kindest thing that he could do, the most loving thing that he could do is to insist that we worship him. Knowing that we will be completely satisfied in him, he insists that we worship him because there we find in a relationship with him our lives satisfied, our lives full of meaning, we find purpose, we find goodness, we find love, we find joy. So God must be for himself if he's gonna be for us. And so by insisting that we worship him alone, he is insisting on our joy. So happiness doesn't just happen. It's something you must choose. In the journey to joy, happiness will not just happen. It's something we must choose. And we can choose happiness and we can choose joy by choosing to live the way we were created to live, by God and for God. This is so incredibly important. So real happiness is not superficial. Real happiness is not something that can even be taken away by tragic circumstances. It's determined by our allegiances. It's determined by our loyalties. And so we can choose happiness when we choose to glorify the one who can truly satisfy us. Now, what this means is that for all people who want to be celebrated and glorified, to all the people who have an invisible medal around their neck, constantly trying to find ways to tell people how great they are and all that they've accomplished, and all the ways insecure people are trying to get the praise of other people, in all those ways, this message is an invitation to simply take the medal off, set the crown down, and glorify God instead of us, a cause, or another person. We have to take off the medal that says people should glorify us if we are going to glorify him. But that is what we were created to do. And when we live in alignment with that purpose, joy actually sets in. So here's the bottom line of today's message. Choose happiness in life. I want you to choose happiness in life by glorifying God with your life. Choose happiness by choosing to glorify him. And when we do this, I'm convinced SMCC and other local churches who are experiencing the gospel can be the happiest places on earth because they're the happiest people on earth have gathered. Happiest place on earth, it is not Disneyland, no offense to all you Disney people. It's groups of people gathered together, sharing in the joy of their God by glorifying him. So, glorify yourself and you'll never be praised enough. Glorify another person and you'll never be loved enough. Glorify a cause and you will never accomplish enough. But glorify God and he will always be enough. This is at the core of joy. And this is what we have to get right at the beginning of every journey to joy. Glorify God and he will be enough. We were created by him and we were created for him. So let's glorify him. Would you pray with me? God, we thank you. We thank you for clarity around our existence. Because of that clarity, we can live in alignment with how we were created. And we know that living in alignment with how we were created is the pathway to joy. And I pray now that we would discover why you insist that we worship you. Because if you are ultimate, you can ultimately satisfy. And joy is a byproduct from trusting you. And so we want to do that now. We want to say how great you are. We want to take the invisible medal off of our own lives, and we want to place all worth on you. We celebrate you now. We declare your goodness now. We lay our lives down before you. It's in the name of Jesus that we pray. Amen.
If you'd like to partner with us and help us reach as many people as possible and help them take their next step in full devotion and full delight, one of the best ways you can do that is by partnering with us financially. You can do that by visiting smccutah.org/give to find more information. I'd also like to invite you to join us for our fall launches across our campuses. And one of the best ways that you can just get connected with a staff member or a pastor right off the bat is by visiting smccutah.org/nextsteps and clicking the Connect button. Now, next week, we're going to be talking about a really good subject. It's the subject of what went wrong. And we're going to have Pastor Eric back with us, giving us that message, and I think you're really going to enjoy it. So I hope to see you again next week.